Hello everyone, I'm Naveen Agarwal and I want to welcome you once again to my weekly video update. We now have a second vaccine for COVID-19 that FDA has authorized for emergency use. This vaccine comes from Moderna, and just like the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine that was authorized only about a week ago, this one also uses the mRNA or the messenger RNA technology platform. I talked about the mRNA technology, how it works, and I covered the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine in my last video. You can find that on my YouTube channel. And if you like these videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and turn those notifications on. That way you will receive an alert as soon as an update is published. Now, I make these videos after looking at technical information. You will find a lot of information quickly delivered through news. But what I try to do is I look at the technical data, and to FDA's credit, they have published a lot of data on these vaccines. And I look at that, I analyze it, and I bring to you my analysis to dig a little bit deeper so you can understand at a deeper level. Because my intention here is to help all of us make an informed decision using benefit risk evaluations, understanding what are some of the unanswered questions, so we can make the right decision for ourselves and our loved ones. Okay, so in this video, I really want to focus on the key differences between the Moderna vaccine and the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine. We already know they are both based on mRNA platform, and they have shown about the same level of efficacy, about 94 to 95% based on their phase 3 clinical trial data. Those trials are still ongoing. But there are several key differences, and I want to cover those differences in this video. Some of them you might have already heard about. But there is one in my mind which is very interesting based on the data that I have looked at, and that relates to the immunogenicity data from these vaccines. Immunogenicity data shows the proof that these vaccines are able to stimulate our immune system. But there are key differences there, and I want to cover that in this video. Okay, so let's talk about the first one. The dose and the dose regimen itself is different. Both of them require 2 doses, but the Moderna vaccine is 100 microgram each dose, 28 days apart, whereas the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine is the 30 microgram dose, 2 doses, 21 days apart. So the time frame and the dose level is different. Because of that, their primary endpoint, which is what is used to estimate the efficacy, is different. So in case of Moderna, their primary endpoint is 14 days after the second dose. So 28 days plus 14 days is the time period after which they have analyzed their primary endpoint. And the primary endpoint includes subjects that did not have any indication of COVID-19 prior to the vaccine was given to them and during the time frame, this 28 plus 14 days time frame. Similar primary endpoint for Pfizer-BioNTech, but that is 7 days after the second dose. So that's only a total of about 28 days. So we are talking about a longer time frame for Moderna and a shorter time frame for Pfizer-BioNTech. Both of them are showing the same efficacy. So I don't know if it matters, but it's a key difference. Okay. Let's talk about now the secondary endpoint, which is where I think there's a key difference here. For Moderna, the secondary endpoint of severe COVID-19 cases shows there were 0 in the vaccine group and 30 in the placebo group, compared to Pfizer-BioNTech, where you have 1 severe COVID-19 case in the vaccine group and 9 in the placebo group. We still don't know what that really means, but it shows us that the Moderna vaccine at least is saving us a little bit from severe COVID-19 cases. So that could be proven out in future with more data, more statistical confidence. But right now the indication is that potentially Moderna vaccine could help us actually provide some protection from severe COVID-19 cases. More to be seen in that direction. Okay, third point about their safety data. Now both of them have about same type of adverse reactions or adverse events. Most of the subjects reported injection site pain, redness, swelling, systemic issues like fevers, chills, or muscle or joint pain. We see them in both cases. But the frequency of severe adverse events or life-threatening events seems to be a little bit higher in case of Moderna. Moderna's data is showing about 1.6% serious adverse events versus about 1.1% for Pfizer-BioNTech. And life-threatening, very serious adverse events, about 0.6% for Moderna versus 0.1% for Pfizer. Again, these are small differences, but again, when you multiply it by millions or hundreds of millions of people who will receive these vaccines, the absolute number may be big. So more remains to be seen, but certainly there's a little bit of a difference in the reported frequency of adverse events. Okay, fourth, you have already heard about the storage conditions. It's all over the news media, and the stability of the Moderna vaccine. In case of both require very low temperatures for the mRNA vaccine to be stable. mRNA by itself is a very unstable molecule. It degrades very, very quickly. So it has to be kept frozen at low temperatures to provide that stability. In case of Moderna, they are talking about minus 20 degrees C or so for 6-month stability of this particular mRNA, which is coated in lipid nanoparticles to make it even more stable and deliver to the system. So the lipid nanoparticle mRNA system, in case of Moderna, has stability at over minus 20 degrees C versus minus 70 degrees C for Pfizer-BioNTech. Now, that's how they started. I totally believe that Pfizer will come out with a request to have an indication at a better temperature, not as low a temperature, but a better temperature, because they will probably provide stability data. But this stability is really controlled by the way the mRNA molecule itself is designed, the kind of modifications have been made to that, and the lipid nanoparticle design. So there's a lot of technology beyond just the mRNA technology to make these vaccines more practical and easy for widespread use. In case of Moderna vaccine, when the temperature is slightly higher, let's say 8 to 25 degrees, it's still a lot more stable than the temperature for Pfizer. So overall, the temperature stability for the Moderna vaccine seems to be much higher, the way they have designed it. And over time, again, we will learn more as to what is driving that stability. And we fully expect the Pfizer-BioNTech and other mRNA vaccines to have better stability and better temperature storage conditions for use. Now let's talk about the final immunogenicity data difference that I flagged in the early part of my video. And this is where I think very interesting. So what they did was neutralizing antibody assays. Both of them use different assays, so we cannot really compare absolute numbers from one versus the other. And there is a difference in the absolute numbers. The test is different, the protocol might have been different. What we want to do is within a certain test data set or results set, we want to compare the multiplication factor, or what they call the geometric mean fold rise. Meaning, what is the ratio of the post-vaccine neutralizing antibody titer with respect to the pre-vaccine titer? How many folds of increase do we see in each set? And that's how I look at it. So in case of the Moderna, after the 14-day primary endpoint, the second dose, 14 days, at that point, the GMFR, which is geometric mean fold rise, is about 59, close to 59 times the pre-vaccine titer levels are seen at their endpoint. Versus Pfizer, where their data is showing, and I'm selecting some data, actually I'm selecting their best data from the 18 to 55 year age range. I'm selecting that data for Pfizer. It's showing about a ratio of 36. Both of them are pretty high, but one is much higher than the other. The second interesting difference that I see is between the first dose and the second dose, there's already a difference in case of Moderna. I see a GMFR of 7 before the second dose is given versus really about the same, about 1.5 for Pfizer before the second dose is given. Two questions come to my mind. Is it because of the dose? Is it a stronger dose that is resulting into a stronger immune response? but I also see a little bit of a delay. So two things are going on. It seems to be a delayed response, slightly delayed response, but a slightly stronger response compared to the Pfizer vaccine. Does it mean the Moderna vaccine can last longer versus Pfizer? We don't know, and I hope we will learn more as the time goes on. Okay, to summarize the 5 key differences that I mentioned in this video, the dose and the dose regimen. We talked about their primary endpoints. We talked about their secondary endpoint differences in terms of the severe cases of COVID-19. We talked about slight difference in their safety profile data. We talked about big difference in their storage conditions. And finally, which I find most interesting, the difference in their immunogenicity data. So I hope this is useful to you. Let me know if you have any questions, comments, or anything that you want to contribute to this discussion. I know some of you already have a lot of knowledge in this field, and I would also love to hear from you. Let me know your comments, questions. Follow me on LinkedIn. And once again, I want to thank you for your interest and attention. And I hope all of you are staying safe in these difficult circumstances.